Many strange and mysterious artifacts exist in our world, like the infamous Roman dodecahedron. Since the early 18th century, more than 100 of these small hollow structures have been found across Europe. Cast from a copper alloy, the objects are hollow and have been dated to Imperial Rome. They differ only slightly in shape and are unquestionably man-made. The problem is, we don't know why. Their purpose is entirely unknown, and all manner of theories have been put forward, but the most common one is that they are ammunition for some kind of ancient ballistics weapon. This might explain why they have been found in former territories of the Roman Empire, but never in Italy itself. Perhaps it was a weapon so destructive it was only ever used on the enemies of Rome, or maybe they were just really badly designed shoes. Either way, they would not be the only weapon enveloped by mystery. For 2,500 years this sword lay hidden inside a mysterious tomb. The tomb was in poor condition, filled with water and forgotten by time, and yet the blade remains razor sharp, with not a trace of rust on it. Known as the Sword of Goujian, it was discovered in 1965, when an archaeological mission uncovered a burial tomb. All were stunned when the blade was unsheathed, as they could not have expected it to be so well preserved. In fact, they expected it to be crumbling into metallic dust. What they found though was a perfect blade, strong and sharp enough to cut paper. Its condition was so good that the Chinese characters on its flat were soon translated, revealing its owner to be Goujian, king of the ancient Chinese Yu state. Thanks to this association, and the blade's seemingly impossible condition, many claim the Sword of Goujian is magical, and that whoever wields it will be victorious in battle. Maybe that is why the Chinese government has banned it from ever being displayed outside of mainland China. But not all weapons are so well preserved. Among those lost to history was the claw of Archimedes. Its creator and namesake was perhaps the greatest mathematician of the ancient world, and he decided to use this talent to protect his hometown of Syracuse. Being a wealthy coastal city-state, hostile creeps were constantly turning up in ships to attack, so our boy Archimedes did the only logical thing. He built a giant metal claw to grab onto them. The exact details of the claw's mechanism are a mystery, but it would then either drag the ship onto the rocks or overturn it. According to Roman accounts, the claw was still in use when they eventually attacked the city, causing great losses. They also mention a heat ray, where mirrors were specially calibrated to burn ships using sunlight. This one is considered less likely to have been real, but that's never stopped me before, so I thought I'd mention it anyway. In revenge, Archimedes was killed by the Romans when Syracuse was finally taken, and much of his knowledge sadly forgotten. Since medieval times, this sword has been said to possess supernatural power. According to legend, it was once wielded by Roland, a famous knight known across Europe for his martial skill. Considering he was French, that's quite an achievement. But even he needed some help from time to time, and so he was gifted a special sword by an angel. Harder and sharper than any other weapon on Earth, its power comes from what it contains. A tooth from St. Peter, the blood of St. Basil, and some hair from St. Denis. Simply put, it was a super weapon, like a medieval nuclear bomb. There are stories of Roland killing thousands of men with it, holding back entire armies by himself. Word of it spread, and soon the invading enemy grew desperate to get their hands on Durandal. With it they could crush all resistance and conquer Europe. Capturing the sword was priority number one. Wave after wave of men were sent to their deaths in an attempt to slay Roland, and eventually he grew tired and vulnerable. Knowing even he could not last much longer, he used his remaining strength to launch the sword into the sky, embedding it in a cliff edge high above ground. If local legend is to be believed, that magical sword has remained here ever since, or at least it did until June of 2024 when it was stolen. So let's hope it's not really magical, otherwise we might all be in trouble. Less magical is Tutankhamun's meteoric iron dagger. Until entering the Iron Age, humanity's only source of iron came from meteorites. Being unlike anything else and having fallen from the sky, they were often seen as gifts from the gods, and fashioned into weapons. Typically only small amounts were found, enough to make an arrowhead or a small hook, but the most famous example is a dagger found in the tomb of Tutankhamun. Overshadowed by the curse said to plague the tomb's excavators, the meteoric dagger has always been the true mystery. For decades it has been suspected to be of cosmic origin, thanks to its purity and total lack of rust. Nobody at the time was able to forge such a blade, and in 2016 special X-ray testing confirmed this theory. So much remains a mystery though. We don't know where the meteorite landed or when, or what part of the galaxy it originated. We don't quite know how people at the time felt about the blade, but given how obsessed with astronomy the ancient Egyptians were, I like to imagine they knew it was not of our world,